Hey everyone, it's Lisa Childs here from TriedTestedAndTrue.com, where I share with you Instant Pot inspirations and ways to feel confident using your Instant Pot. Today I'm sharing with you 5 delicious, yummy desserts that you can make using your Instant Pot. The first dessert we're making today are chocolate-covered strawberries using the Instant Pot as a double boiler. This is such an easy and fun way to make anything dipped in chocolate, so I share all my favorite tips with you in this video. So what I'm going to do is press the saute button, and that is going to go on high on default, and then I'm going to add about 2 cups of water. Now once this comes to a boil, I'm going to probably bump the saute feature down to low, so then it will just be a nice simmer. We don't want it to be a rolling boil the whole time. We just want it warm enough to melt the chocolate without scorching it. I have this Ghirardelli chocolate, is like so good, right? I got this at Sam's Club. I've seen it on sale during the holidays. This is also really good to just make other chocolates, candies. It's specifically for melting and coating, so I like using this kind. I also bought the milk to kind of do a drizzle on top. I think it looks super pretty, but if you're doing like a baby shower or a party that's themed and has a specific color, dip all your berries in white and then use the leftover with a little bit of food dye with like blue or pink, and then drizzle over the top. It looks so cute. So this is how I prepare my strawberries for dipping. So I take my strawberry and then I'll just fluff up the green parts like this so it doesn't get in the chocolate. And then what I like to do is use corn on the cob holders to act as my dipper. Of course you can just use like your finger or fork, but I use these. Or another thing that you can use is a fondue stick. So I have a fondue stick, and what I would do is just take this and just kind of stick it in right at an angle. So see, now I've got the perfect angle to dip in the chocolate and swirl, remove the excess, and you'll have a perfect chocolate covered strawberry. You don't want too much chocolate on your berries because otherwise it would just be this giant shell. When you eat into it, it'll just crack and fall off if there's too much chocolate. So we want it to just be a perfect little dip, and we're ready to go. You can see that our Instant Pot is starting to steam. The water is boiling in here. It's getting nice and hot. So I'm going to start adding my chocolate. We are going to add the bowl right here on top first, like this. And this is going to get nice and warm. It's going to get hot, so just be careful. I also have some of these parchment sheets that I just set out on my counter next to the Instant Pot. So once I'm done dipping, I'll just put it on the parchment and then they can set. You can use regular chocolate chips if you want, or you could use almond bark. Just try and get something that's designated as a melting chocolate or a dipping chocolate or a candy coating. It's a little bit easier to work with and it won't be as thick as a chocolate chip, and you'll get much better results. Our chocolate is nice and melted. See, it's perfect, it's beautiful, and we don't want this to burn, and so I'm going to turn it from low saute over to keep warm. So I just press cancel, and now I'm going to press keep warm again. It's the same button, and it will be, I think, the perfect temperature. If it starts getting too like hard and you need to melt it more, just press the saute button again and you can warm up the water. You can occasionally also check underneath to make sure that there's enough water. Because some of it is escaping out of the sides, it's evaporating. So you just add more water as you need it. I like to just dunk in and then roll and then just let it drip like this. You can kind of tap on the edge of the bowl. We don't want too much excess. And then I'm just gonna come over here to my parchment and put it down. Okay, we'll keep going until they're all done. If you'd like to add this beautiful chocolate drizzle on top, just melt a little bit of a contrasting colored chocolate and then spoon that chocolate into a little Ziploc baggie. Squeeze it onto one corner of the Ziploc, snip a tiny little hole, do one practice, and then you're ready to just drizzle right over the strawberries. The next recipe that we love to make all the time in our house is Instant Pot rice pudding. First, we're going to add our water to the Instant Pot, followed by just regular white rice. I don't rinse this, but I just use regular long grain and rich, just like the cheapest rice they have at the grocery store. Next, add a little bit of salt and we'll close that lid and turn the knob to sealing. We'll cook the rice for 3 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release. After the rice is done, just open up that lid and fluff up that rice to make sure there aren't any clumps, and then we're going to add the sugar. We want to add the sugar when the rice is nice and hot before any of our liquid ingredients, because we want the sugar to melt down and to dissolve completely before we add any liquid. Once you put the sugar in and mix it all up, it will look super like glistening and shiny. It's actually really pretty. So make sure all the sugar is dissolved, and then we'll add our milk. Add in about half of the milk first, stir it up, and then use the remaining milk, and then we're going to crack 2 eggs into the milk and whisk it up. After you put the milk into the rice pudding, press the saute button and put it on low, so then you can start getting a little bit more heat on there, so then we can cook and thicken the eggs. Crack the 2 eggs into the remaining milk and whisk it up really well. You don't want any huge egg chunks, because once we start pouring it into our rice pudding, we don't want any scrambled eggs in our dessert. A lot of people get concerned about the eggs because they don't think that they're cooked, but believe me, the heat of the rice and the milk, it will all cook as we, whisk it up and stir it, so don't worry about the eggs not being cooked. The eggs are simply there to thicken up the rice pudding so it's nice and creamy and thick and has some substance. So whisk up the eggs really well, and then as you are stirring and whisking the rice pudding and the milk, you need to pour in the eggs slowly. In the video, I know it looks like I just dumped it in and then I started stirring, but I wasn't thinking because I was filming with one hand and pouring with the other, so forgive me with this one. All you have to do is just stir, whisk while you pour. If you like raisins in your rice pudding, then you can also add them at this point and just kind of stir them up until they get nice and plump. Next, we are going to add the secret ingredient to this incredible rice pudding, which is vanilla bean paste. The secret to this rice pudding really is this vanilla bean paste. If you've never used it before, it is magical. It will seriously transform all of your desserts into like this high-end, luxurious, just the best thing you've ever tasted before. Like, it's so good in cookies, everything. So you use the vanilla bean paste the same as you use vanilla extract. 1 tablespoon of extract is 1 tablespoon of paste. So vanilla bean paste is basically just sugar with actual vanilla beans scraped into there, and it's almost like a really thick syrup when you use it. It is delicious. I'm not kidding. It makes everything taste so much better. If you don't have vanilla bean paste, you can use just regular vanilla. In my video here, I'm showing you I added a little bit of vanilla bean paste and a little bit of regular vanilla because I was running out of my vanilla bean paste. In case you didn't know, there is a vanilla bean shortage out there in the world, and so it's getting awfully expensive, but I'll still link my favorite vanilla bean paste in the description below. You can use vanilla extract, vanilla bean paste, or if you're super fancy and have actual vanilla beans, you can split 1 or 2 vanilla beans and scrape out the caviar and put it in your rice pudding to get those beautiful little flecks. After your rice pudding gets nice and thick, we're going to add in a little bit of cream and a little bit of butter just to round it out, that really nice, creamy, buttery, just rich texture in your mouth. It has a really nice mouthfeel when you add the cream and the butter. So we're going to add those in last and then just mix it up, and we're ready to eat. After you've added all the ingredients to your rice pudding, just cook it on low or medium saute as you whisk to get the texture and consistency that you like. If you like it thicker, you're gonna have to cook it a couple minutes longer, but if you like it a little bit more runny, then you can just take it as is. Okay, now we're finally ready to eat. Our favorite way to eat rice pudding is just to put it in a bowl and add a bunch of cinnamon, and then you get a little bit of cinnamon in each bite. That's our favorite way to do it. If you don't eat everything the first day, that's totally fine. Just store it in the refrigerator, but you will notice it's a lot thicker the next day because the rice just continues to absorb all that liquid. So if you want to eat it the next day, just put some in a bowl and add a little bit of extra milk or cream and then microwave it, and then it will kind of thin out a little bit. If you like Instant Pot rice pudding, but you want it to be just a little bit lighter or a slightly different flavor, here's a variation of coconut milk rice pudding, which doesn't have any dairy in it. It is so good. So to your Instant Pot, add 1 cup of long grain white rice. You can use jasmine rice or basmati rice. I use long grain white rice, but any 3 of those rices will work just fine. So add your rice to the Instant Pot, and I don't rinse mine, but you can if you like. And then we are going to add 1.5 cups of water. If you like, you can also add a little dash of salt, and I usually just kind of shake mine around just a little bit and to make sure that all the rice is distributed in the water, and then we're going to pressure cook it for 3 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release. Our Instant Pot has been naturally releasing the pressure for about 10-11 minutes, and the pin actually just dropped. So this is perfect timing. I'm going to take off the lid and let all that water from the lid kind of drip into the Instant Pot, and don't lift it away right away, otherwise that liquid will get on your counter. Now we have our rice and it's cooked all the way, so I'm just going to toss it a little bit, like kind of break it up, make sure that it's cooked evenly, and it looks great, nice and fluffy. Now we're going to add in our sugars. So first I'm going to add in 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and then I'm also going to add in 1/2 cup of cream of coconut. Cream of coconut is not the same thing as coconut cream or coconut milk, so make sure that you get cream of coconut. It's actually kind of an emulsion of sugar mixed with coconut. Let's see, it has coconut, sugar, water, yeah, all that good stuff, and it's used usually for mixed drinks, but it's kind of this syrupy texture, and this is the first time I've gotten it in a can. Usually I get it in a little squeeze bottle, but this is the first time I got it in a can, and it's separated. So for this case, if you use a can of cream of coconut, make sure that you take it out and put it in a bowl or something, or a blender, and make sure that all that syrupy liquid is mixed in with that thick coconut cream on the top. Otherwise, you'll have like a disproportionate amount of sugar or coconut. You want to make sure that it's nice and emulsified, and so make sure you whip it up in the can or in a bowl before you add it into your coconut rice pudding. So 1/2 cup of cream of coconut, and it's so good. If you have leftovers, you can use it in pina coladas. I like to put it into like pancake syrup or like in frosting to make it really yummy and coconutty. It's so good. So I've got our sugars here, and we're just going to mix this in until it gets yummy and glistening. So good. And I like using the brown sugar versus the white sugar because I think it gives it kind of a deeper taste, a deeper flavor. So I really like that. So now we are going to press the saute button on our Instant Pot. I want to make sure it's on. Okay, we have the cancel keep warm, press saute, and press start. Okay, this is my new Instant Pot Duo Plus, and I'm not used to using it, so I'm kind of learning as I go. So I've got our sugars in our Instant Pot, and you want to make sure that the sugar is all the way dissolved before you add anything else to it. After we have it on saute mode, it's going to start to warm back up, and we are going to add about 1/2 can of coconut milk. This is full fat coconut milk. Make sure that you shake it up before you open it so then you get all of that cream on top. And we're just going to add in about 1/2 because the other 1/2 we're going to use to thicken it. So just add in 1/2 of the coconut milk. Oh, it smells so good. Oh man. And we're just going to wait for this to come up to a simmer, and in the meantime we're going to crack our eggs. All right, to a liquid measuring cup we're just going to add in the rest of the coconut milk. Make sure you get all of that thickened coconut cream, not to be confused with cream of coconut. So we've got our coconut milk here, and then I'm going to crack in 2 eggs. The eggs are optional, but they do thicken the rice pudding. So that's what I use to thicken it. If you are vegan and you don't want to add the eggs, you can just thicken it up with some cornstarch or some other thickener. I like to take a whisk and just whisk in the eggs into the coconut milk. So it's nice and thick, and this is going to make like a custard. So then our coconut rice pudding is thick and creamy. We don't want it to be just like watery, milky rice, right? So whisk in the eggs really nicely so then there's no chunks of scrambled eggs in your rice pudding. And I think it's just about ready for us. Perfect. Also, I need to get a new whisk. This is like the whisk attachment for my hand mixer, but it works because it's like the nice little size, so I like it. All right, so you can see over here that it's already kind of thickened up a little bit. Oh, it's perfect, okay. So I'm going to just slowly whisk in our egg mixture, our egg and coconut milk mixture. Make sure all the rice is off of the sides of the pot. So while whisking, you want to just slowly pour this in, kind of drizzle it in Otherwise, like I said, you're gonna get scrambled eggs in your rice pudding. And we want smooth, velvety, delicious, coconutty rice pudding. Oh, it's so good. Also, now might be a good time to let you know that if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so then you don't miss a single video. Okay, so now we're just gonna whisk this together until it comes back up to a simmer. And as it cooks, it will get thicker and thicker, which is really nice. If you like it super thick, you can even add an additional egg or an additional egg yolk. It's so stinking good. We're just gonna wait for this to come up to a simmer, and then after that, we are gonna add in a little bit of vanilla extract. Another thing that is really good with this rice pudding is if you put in a little almond extract, because almond and coconut go so well together. And then if you taste it and it's not coconutty enough for you, you can add in a little bit of coconut emulsion or like a coconut extract, and that will bump up the coconut flavor as well. This is coming up. So like I said, this is a completely dairy-free recipe. Yes, eggs are not dairy. A lot of people might complain about that. Eggs are not dairy, but this is completely dairy-free. There's no butter, no milk, no cream, and so that's really nice. But if you do want it even creamier and even richer, feel free to add like 2 tablespoons of butter and about 1/4 cup of heavy cream to this recipe, and it will make it even creamier. All right, this is getting there. Okay, we'll just let this simmer for just a couple minutes. One of the things I actually really do like about this new Instant Pot Duo Plus that I have is that the liner doesn't spin when I'm stirring things. So there's little nubs on the inside of the Instant Pot that kind of secure the liner in place. And so it makes it so it doesn't spin like I'm stirring it now and the liner's not spinning everywhere. I really like that feature. Oh, it's getting nice and thick. Okay, we'll just give this a couple more minutes. Make sure you're stirring this pretty constantly. You can walk away for a couple minutes, but if you don't, it'll probably start burning on the bottom, so just make sure you're there to give it a good stir every now and then. And it's actually, I think it's just about there. Look how custardy that is. It smells so good. Oh, so yummy. All right, we are going to take this off the heat now. Okay, so we're gonna add in our vanilla extract, just about a teaspoon, and I'm sorry, but I never measure my vanilla. I think that erring on the side of overusing vanilla is always better. So we're gonna add in a teaspoon of vanilla and just stir that in. You can serve this with toasted coconut on top. You can even throw in some coconut flakes in there if you want, so then they get kind of chewy and soft in the rice pudding. I like to serve mine with cinnamon, some toasted coconut, and some fresh raspberries. It's so good. All right, I think this is there. I think we're gonna turn it off now. Is this the right one? Cancel. Oh, so good. Okay, we're gonna scoop it up and serve it. Okay, this is burning hot, but I'm gonna take just a little tiny bite so I can tell you kind of the flavor. So, that is so good. The rice is perfectly cooked. It's super coconutty, but it's very light. Like, it doesn't have a very heavy flavor. It's just light and sweet and coconutty. You are going to love this. This next recipe is for Instant Pot key lime pie. It comes out of my new cookbook, and you guys are gonna love it. It's simple, it's a single portion serving, and it is bananas. You're gonna love it. First, we're gonna start out with a 1/4 cup of graham cracker crumbs. Now, if you don't like graham cracker crumbs or you don't want to use those, you can use a shortbread cookie, you can use any kind of like a Biscoff cookie, cereal, any just type of cookie crumb will work for this recipe. So we've got a 1/4 cup of graham cracker crumbs, and to that I'm adding just a tablespoon of melted butter. And then we're gonna add 1/2 tablespoon of white sugar and just a dash of cinnamon. I love the flavor of cinnamon in a graham cracker crust. It's so good. So that's it. All you have to do is just mix this up in a little bowl, and then we're gonna add this into a ramekin. So make sure that your ramekin is oven proof or oven safe, and then that will let you know that it's okay to use in your Instant Pot as well. So it's gonna be a little crumbly at first, but you just have to moisten all the crumbs with that yummy butter. And then we're just going to press it into our ramekin. You don't have to grease this or anything like that. We're just gonna pour our graham cracker crumbs into the ramekin, and it smells so good. There's just something about butter and graham crackers that they're just meant to be. So I'm just using a little spatula here to press it down, but you could also use the bottom of a cup or bottom of a measuring cup, and you can press these down. If you'd like to make 2 of these at the same time, they will fit in your Instant Pot. Just make sure your ramekins will fit, and you can just double the recipe. All right, we don't have to do anything with this crust, just set it aside and we'll make our filling. Next, let's make our filling for our key lime pie. So I just washed out the same bowl that I used to make our graham cracker crust. Makes it super easy, 1 bowl. You don't want more dishes, right? So we are going to start out with 3.5 ounces of sweetened condensed milk. The easiest way to measure out 3.5 ounces is using a kitchen scale, but if you don't have a kitchen scale, it's just right about 1/3 of a cup. So we're just gonna pour in our sweetened condensed milk. So good. And here's a little tip. If you don't want to buy an entire can of sweetened condensed milk because now you don't know what to do with the rest of it, try and find the ingredients at the dollar store. I know it sounds kind of weird, but the dollar store carries smaller sized portions of regular sized items in their store because they're only $1. And so if you just need a little bit of an ingredient, try and check the dollar store first and you might be able to find it there. All right, to our sweetened condensed milk, we're just gonna add 1 egg yolk. And next we are going to add 2 tablespoons of fresh lime juice, which is about the same as 1 lime. You'll usually be able to get 2 tablespoons out of 1 small lime. I'm just going to roll the lime on my cutting board like this, and that kind of releases the juices from inside of the lime to make it easier to juice. So really quick, before we juice it, I'm just going to take the zest of the lime and just add about 1/2 teaspoon of lime zest to our key lime pie filling, and it just smells so good. It adds great flavor. It just makes me happy. So we've got about 1/2 teaspoon of lime zest here, and now we can cut the lime, and then we will juice 2 tablespoons of lime juice into our filling. I'm just gonna juice the lime right into the filling like this, because I know each lime is gonna give me about 2 tablespoons. So my new cookbook has 175 fast and easy recipes that you can make in your 3 or 6 quart Instant Pot. It's just nice to be able to have a book of just single portion recipes, so then you don't have any waste or leftovers. So next we're just going to mix this all together. And it might look kind of clumpy at first, but you just have to keep on mixing and it will all come together. If you're not a huge lime fan, you can also substitute the lime juice with some lemon juice and lemon zest. That is also a delicious variation of this easy recipe. Next, we're just gonna place our filling right over our crust, and then it's going to be ready to cook. After you put the filling on top of the crust, all we need to do is just cover it with a little foil, and you don't have to grease that or anything as well. And then we're going to place our mini key lime pie into the Instant Pot with 1 cup of water. I like to place my pie on a little trivet like this. If you don't have a trivet, you can also use a silicone sling like this, or you can even use a steamer basket. So to our Instant Pot, I'm just going to add 1 cup of water and then place our little mini key lime pie right in. This only cooks for 10 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release, and then you'll have to cool, and it's the hardest part, but then you have to refrigerate and then you can enjoy. After your key lime pie has cooked for 10 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release, just carefully remove your pie from the Instant Pot and just let it cool to room temperature for a couple hours. After that, you have to refrigerate for 4 to 6 hours, but ideally overnight is best, and then you're ready to eat. I love to serve mine with a little fresh whipped cream and some lime zest. It's so pretty and delicious. So I'm gonna make just a little bit of whipped cream for our single portion key lime pie recipe. And here's a tip: if you use just a little bit of heavy cream in a jar or a cup, and then you use your hand mixer, you can make just a small portion of heavy cream without having to use a full-size kitchen mixer or to have a ton of whipped cream left over. So in this cup, I just have about 1/4 cup of heavy cream and a little bit of powdered sugar. We're just gonna start blending it together. All right, and look, we've got whipped cream, just a little bit. It's so nice. So then you don't have to buy a whole can or a whole tub of whipped cream. You can have fresh, delicious whipped cream, but just the amount you need. Our key lime pie is finally finished after it's refrigerated overnight. I'm serving it with some whipped cream, some lime zest, and some additional graham cracker crumbs. If you want it to look extra fancy, you can do some lime wedges as well. Let's give it a little taste. Oh, that is a perfect bite. Oh, I gotta get some whipped cream in there. All right. Oh, that was so good. Okay. The custard is the perfect texture. Super creamy, custardy, not lumpy at all, super smooth. It's not too sweet. And then we've got that cinnamony graham cracker crust at the bottom with a little fresh whipped cream. Oh my gosh. This is the perfect single portion dessert. The last recipe we're sharing today is Instant Pot carrot cake. This is super dense and moist. It's so good. It's jam-packed with all the good stuff, and I know that you're going to love it. So the first thing we want to do is combine our oil with our sugars. So I have just 1/3 cup of vegetable oil in here, and then I have 1/2 cup of brown and 1/2 cup of white sugar. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of cream together, not cream because it's not butter, but we're just gonna mix together the sugars with the oil to kind of get it combined. You can also use a hand mixer or a stand mixer for this part. All right, so now that we have that incorporated, we are going to add 2 eggs, just straight in. Whoops. Let's do 2 teaspoons of vanilla and then whisk this all up together. I like using this flat whisk because then I can scrape things off the bottom of the bowl or the pot, whatever, while I'm cooking. It really helps to just incorporate everything in really quick. So keep stirring this until all the sugar is dissolved and you don't have any clumps. Now that our mixture is combined like this, we're gonna sift in our dry ingredients. So I just have a little sifter here, and we're gonna add 1 cup of flour and the rest of our dry ingredients. We've got a teaspoon of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, some cloves and nutmeg. And I just like to throw those right on top and then sift over the sugar and the egg oil mixture. Oh, those spices smell so good together. I love cinnamon. We're just going to whisk in lightly the flour mixture, and this is going to be almost like a cookie dough. It's going to be a very thick batter. You don't want any dry spots when you add in the rest of the ingredients, but you don't want to over mix the flour because you don't want it to be like super tough. So we've got our batter here, and it looks just kind of like a very loose cookie dough, almost like a peanut butter or an almond butter is what it looks like. So to this, we are going to add our other ingredients. So we're going to start with 2 cups of shredded carrots. They can be pre-shredded. You can buy like just the bag at the store, or you can shred your own. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of carrots. After the carrots, we're going to add in our pineapple. So I just use an 8-ounce can of pineapple chunks. I drain it, and then I just chop up the pineapple chunks so they're a little bit smaller, but you can also use like pineapple tidbits, crushed pineapple, whatever you want. But you do want to drain the liquid out because we don't want that extra liquid in our cake. So I just drained it out and like added some sparkling water and just made a little drink. So you can do it whatever you want with it. So we've got our pineapple. So good. And a cup of nuts. I'm using pecans that I just chopped up, but you can use any nut you like. I think pecans and walnuts are kind of the best ones. And then 1/2 cup of coconut. You can use a sweetened shredded coconut or an unsweetened, doesn't matter. And just fold in all that goodness into that thick batter. And then what we're gonna do is just let the batter sit for about 5-10 minutes. So then the moisture from the carrots can kind of draw out into the batter. It's kind of the same concept as zucchini bread. Zucchini bread has a really kind of a thick batter at first, and then you add in all that zucchini and it just transforms. So you can see that this is super thick. The batter is barely just like covering all of the carrots and the nuts and the pineapple. It's super thick. So we are just gonna let this rest for a couple minutes, and in the meantime, I'm gonna prepare my pans. So I just have two 6-inch cake pans, and these are awesome for just baking, whatever, and we are going to grease them. I just like to use some cooking spray. Make sure you're getting the sides, definitely the bottom. You do not want this to stick. That is like the worst, because we want our cake layers to be perfect. Okay, and then before we put them in the Instant Pot, I'm gonna kind of explain how we're going to stack them. So I am going to use my silicone pressure cooking sling and put it in the bottom of my Instant Pot. We have our pressure cooking sling. I'm gonna have one cake pan full of batter, and I'm gonna cover it with foil, and we're gonna put it on the first trivet. So then we have to stack the second one on top of it. So instead of stacking it right on top of the foil so there's not a ton of airflow, I am going to use another trivet or whatever you have. So today I'm going to use this little net that I have, and I'm just gonna put that on top and then put the other cake pan on top of it. So then there is something to like stack both of them. Another thing you can use are like chopsticks. You can just put them on top of the first one, the first pan, and then set the second one on top. Whatever you have to just keep a little bit of a layer between the two cake layers, that's what you're gonna want. Today we're making a homemade carrot cake in our Instant Pot, but if you want to make a Instant Pot carrot cake cheesecake, then you can add this optional cheesecake layer swirl. So if you're gonna do that, just add 2 blocks of cream cheese, that's 16 ounces, and blend that together with 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, and half a tablespoon of vanilla. You just wanna mix that up really nice, and then you're going to dollop that into our carrot cake batter after it goes in our pans. That's totally optional, but the cook time is still the same, and it's a really yummy way to eat this carrot cake, to have that cheesecake layer. It's so good. Today we are going to just make the regular original carrot cake. Okay, it's been a couple minutes now, and you can tell that our batter is a lot looser. There appears to be more batter because a lot of the moisture from the carrots has released into the batter, and so it now looks a little bit more like regular cake batter. So I'm going to take this and divide it evenly between the 2 cake pans. I have our cake layers here, and I am going to just cover them with foil. So now we're ready to pressure cook our carrot cakes in the Instant Pot. So we are going to add 2 cups of water to the Instant Pot. And then we're gonna add our first cake layer. I'm gonna just put it right on top of the pressure cooking sling and drop it into the Instant Pot. And then we're gonna add our second cake layer, just like that. And then I'm just gonna put my little sling together and then put on the lid, turn the knob from venting to sealing, and then we're gonna cook this for 60 minutes. 1 hour in the Instant Pot with a full natural pressure release, so about 15 to 30 minutes, just depending on how long it takes for the pin to drop on your Instant Pot. As soon as the cakes are done, we will take them out and let them rest at room temperature until they're cooled, and then just refrigerate them overnight. This just helps to kind of firm up the cakes, make sure that they're not gonna fall apart while you're icing them, and it helps to just keep them really moist. So that is what we're gonna do, and then we'll finish this cake up tomorrow. So our cakes have been chilling in the fridge overnight. Today we are making the frosting. So this is a delicious cream cheese frosting. I absolutely love it, and I know you will too. For the cream cheese frosting, you will need 8 ounces of cream cheese. This is 1 block that's been softened, 6 tablespoons of softened butter, 4 cups of powdered sugar, 3 teaspoons of vanilla, and a couple pinches of salt. So I just have my softened cream cheese here, and you can soften cream cheese in the microwave. Usually there's like a little setting for it, or you can just take it out a couple hours before you want to use it. But it's important that it's softened because otherwise you're going to have lumps of cream cheese in your frosting. And I'm just going to add in 6 tablespoons of butter. 1 stick of butter is 8 tablespoons. So I'm just going to take all but 2 tablespoons of the butter, just plop it into our cream cheese. And then we're gonna cream these two together with a little bit of vanilla. You gotta shake up your vanilla every time because otherwise, if you're using real vanilla, your vanilla will settle a little bit and you want to make sure you have all that flavor. I love vanilla and I almost never measure it. So we'll also use a couple shakes of salt, and then we'll just cream this together. Make sure that your cream cheese and your butter are fully incorporated. You want them to be fluffy, cohesive. You don't want any chunks or lumps in there because then it will be lumpy in your frosting. If it is a little bit lumpy, just microwave it for 10 seconds at a time and then mix 10 seconds at a time until it's nice and soft. You don't want it to be melted, but you do want it to be softened. And now I have 4 cups of powdered sugar, and we're just gonna add this while mixing it about a cup at a time. Occasionally, I like to just wipe down my beaters and my bowl to make sure that everything gets incorporated. All right, we have our cream cheese frosting now. It's gorgeous. It's got this beautiful, just kind of a light yellow tan color, and it's gonna go perfect on our cake. So let's go get our cakes from the fridge. After you take your cakes out of the Instant Pot and you let them cool to room temperature and you want to refrigerate them overnight, then this is what they look like. They are perfect. I checked them last night, so excited about them. They do shrink down just a little bit after you make them, but I like to just take a plastic knife and just run my knife along the outsides and just kind of shake it a little bit to dislodge it like that, and then perfect. Okay, so we've got our first layer here and it's moist. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I can't wait to share it with you. So if you want, you can cut your layers, so you can like trim the tops to make them so they're super even, but I don't really care. So I am just going to set this back in the pan until we're ready for it. And now we're ready to assemble our cake. So I just have my first layer right here, and I'm just going to add a good little dollop of cream cheese frosting and use an offset spatula or a knife and just spread it evenly. Brett doesn't like carrot cake, and I don't think my kids don't like carrots. Oddly enough, that's the one vegetable where they just really struggle with. And so this carrot cake is probably going to be eaten by me and my friends and neighbors. This is a perfect size though if you just want a little, taste of carrot, but you don't want like a ginormous Costco size carrot cake. This is a perfect cake because it's not too big, but you're still going to get a good 8 servings out of it. And another good thing about this cake is that it can be made early. It freezes really nicely. Our cake has been in the freezer for about 15 minutes and the crumb coat has set. So that means that hopefully it's not going to pull any more crumb or frosting off of here. So we are just going to go ahead and add the rest of our frosting onto the cake. Okay, I have a little bit of extra frosting here and I'm just going to put it in a piping bag and just use it to kind of decorate a little bit. Here is my tip for using a piping bag. This is just a disposable piping bag, and I am going to fill it up with just the last little bit of our cream cheese frosting. But I have my bag. I'm going to put a star tip in it. Just going to stick it right into the tip there, and then I'm going to put it in a glass. Just like this. And then we can scrape the rest of our frosting into the bag, scrape it on the edge of the cup, and then you're not dealing with frosting like going everywhere. Okay, so now you just pull up the sides of the bag, cut a little bit off the bottom, squeeze the piping tip in, perfect. See, just like that, and squeeze the air out, and now we've got perfect piping bag. I don't really have a plan for this, but I'm just gonna decorate how I see fit and how I want to, and we'll see what we come up with. So I also made some crumbs. These are just some blended up pecans with some graham cracker. So I'm just gonna use that as kind of some dust, some sprinkles for the cake. And I'm not gonna add any food coloring carrots. You can totally do that if you want. You can add maybe some little cookies. I was thinking about maybe making some macarons. But we're just keeping it simple here today. Don't need it to be crazy. There are cake baking accounts for that. So talented. And I've got a little bit of my toasted coconut in here. We'll have a couple toasted coconut flakes. Now I have some really pretty just little flowers that I found at the store while I was doing some recipe prepping, and so I thought, oh, that might be pretty to put in a couple flowers here and there for springtime. So I thought we'll add a couple little green things in here. But anyway, there we go. We have our carrot cake. It looks beautiful. It's so moist, and I'm gonna cut into it in just a sec. We've got our completed carrot cake, and I just want to show you just how delicious this is. So we've got this beautiful brown cake with lots of pineapple, nuts, carrots, this awesome cream cheese frosting, and this is a very thick, dense. The texture is a lot kind of like a really dense fruit cake, but it's so good. So let's dig in. Oh, good. If you like these 5 Instant Pot dessert recipes, I have a full video tutorial on each of them. I will link them in the description below. There's lots more tips and tricks in each of those individual videos. But next, check out my 4 easy Instant Pot chicken and rice videos, and I'll link that right here. Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye.